Staffing professionals are eager and ready to earn your business. That's 877-247-ZONE.
This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
I got three cases.
This is NFL Hall of Famer.
No. Hey, this is NFL Hall of Famer Tony Dorsett. You're listening to Talking Sports with Randy Harris.
Hi, this is Keenan McCardell, and you're Talking Sports with Randy Harris.
Hi, we're back coming to you live from the Cool Breeze AC broadcast facility. NFL is kicking off. I think rookies, it was Detroit or Chicago, I think, just reported. I think the Bucs report next week. And good times, because you know what happens once football starts? We start gearing up for Radio Row in New Orleans in 2025.
It's going to be big.
It's
but like if it keeps growing like it has every year since doing it, this next year we should have the biggest booth there.
Well, okay, and that may be different. We won't have the biggest booth because Pat McAfee will always blow that place up. Now, will we get lucky enough to be right there where Pat was, this year and hopefully next year? But the producer, the greatest producer to ever come out of Metalon in the St. Petersburg area, has already started to design new banners. We're already starting to gear up.
Yeah.
Challenge coins are coming. I talked to the owner of the Challenge Coin Company. They're going to be kick butt. Nice. So a lot of really, really cool stuff. A couple other side notes as we work our way to the top of the hour when we'll discuss what happened a couple days ago with a former FBI agent that was involved out at 911. Curtis Blaydes, and I understand what he's saying. Curtis Blaydes said they would never have Conor McGregor fight at 4 in the morning because Curtis Blaydes is going to be fighting at 4 in the morning this Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Because England, it's all, our time and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to get Curtis Blaydes upset, but Curtis Blaydes is not Conor McGregor, first of all.
True.
I think that if they used Conor over there, he would fight at 4 in the morning.
Absolutely.
Because it's the timing. That's what, even though there's been one or two or a couple that it does come on, 10 in the morning, which is 7 in Vegas, which is like 2 in the morning in Hawaii or whatever. But it is what it is.
I love Curtis Blaydes, don't get me wrong, but that's a very selfish thing to say. It really is. You're out there, you're in a different country, different time zones. What, do you want to fight at 4 in the morning local time so you can fight prime time in the U.S.? It makes no sense. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
I agree. I mean, it's like at this level, they have the money and resources. He can get there early enough to acclimate, get his circadian rhythm back to normal. Like, it's not going to be that big of a deal.
There was a fallacy back in the day on Chuck Liddell. Okay, that Chuck Liddell, and you were around that time. I was around that time. I remember being in Anaheim. He fought on Saturday, and he walked into the hotel at 6 in the morning. And everybody's like, oh, he's out there partying, he's out there doing this. No, that's what he's doing. He's acclimating that he's going to be fighting at that time. Sure. If he fights at midnight our time, that's 3 out there, which normally it's not that late. He doesn't fight at 3. But he's acclimating so that he is awake, so he's not tired. So I go to some of these events. You've been there. Producer's been there. I threw a producer and not a Steve. Yeah. I get tired at like 10 o'clock,
sure,
which is 1 in the morning here.
Right.
So I understand what he's saying, but you accepted it. It's kind of like, and Tracy hasn't said that, but, fighters, I only took it on 2 weeks' notice. You knew you were taking it on 2 weeks' notice. I don't want to hear that you took it on 2 weeks' notice afterwards.
Yeah, and one of the things, on a totally different topic but the same kind of subject, I hate when people go to Mexico City the day or 2 days before their fight and then complain that they weren't acclimated to the altitude. Why would you do that? Why would you go out there, especially if you're an East Coast fighter,
right,
you're going to go to Mexico City just in time for fight week and then worry on Saturday night, I can't get my breath?
That's it.
You should have thought about that. Most fighters get there a month in advance.
For sure.
So they can,
I remember the money that they're getting paid, it's easy for them to do that, make that adjustment, a couple weeks before, get
acclimated, yeah. I remember Frankie Edgar when he was fighting Gray Maynard in Vegas, the second fight, the draw, and he would basically hang out most of the day, and then he'd start training at 9 p.m. Vegas time. And that's when he would take his training camps, like, really late at night, so he would get used to being awake and being at the ready at midnight, right, come fight night.
Or stay at home, but start training at those times.
Right.
You know, if you don't want to, for financial reasons, I would totally get it. And I know a lot of fighters do that. You know, they may start 6 weeks out. You know, Mayweather would train in the middle of the morning.
Yeah.
Really the middle of the night, but I'm saying like 2, 3 morning for numerous reasons. One is to keep the crowds away. You know, nobody's going to really go out there at 3
Can't
to
run down the middle of the street, you know, at 12 noon, you know, like.
Well, he could. Have you seen his bodyguards?
I've seen it.
Yeah. Those cars will bounce off.
It's a lot easier to run in the middle of the night when there's no one on the road.
No, for sure. Mike, you brought up when we had our pre-show meeting about Diaz.
Where was I? How come I didn't get an invite to this meeting?
You know, because you show up when you show up.
Dang it.
It was a great meeting.
You know, if you'd come, if you'd walk through the door, you could hear some of the things. But
Steve brought Charlie Steaks too. It was great.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Shocking. I have a luncheon at Charlie's Steak on Tuesday.
Really?
The only problem is I won't be here.
I can go in your place.
Okay. So, little controversy with Nate Diaz.
Oh yeah, he's suing the promoter of his bout with Jorge Masvidal, depending on which day he's there, which Jorge shows up. But yeah, he's only been paid $1 million out of 10 that he was contracted for, and now he's saying, I don't know if this is true, but the promoter's going through a divorce. He's being sued by his ex-wife, and he's using this all as an excuse as I can't come up with the other $9 million.
Wow.
So
then might file bankruptcy.
Yeah. So that's going to be, you know, it's really unfortunate if it's true. You know, I can't imagine it's not true because Nate probably wouldn't sue somebody for no reason.
But it happens all the time. There was a bare knuckle, you know, that did the same thing. And since Steve loves when I tell stories, so many moons ago, let's see, about 31 years ago, I went to Hamburg, Germany. May he rest in peace. Tyrone Booz was going to defend his WBO cruiserweight title, and they handed him a check. And first they said, we'll pay you after the fight. And Tyrone's manager was like, no, that's not going to work. They're like, okay, you know, stay here. We'll go get you a check. And they go and they get him a check and they write him a check. It's a personal check. And they're like, no, that's not going to work. Take us back to the airport. And I'm like, come on, we just got to Germany. At least let me enjoy it. No, don't leave. And, demanded a cashier's check for that exact reason. Because once the fight's over, try getting the money.
Well, how do the guys get paid now? I mean, they're not giving them checks today, right? I mean, they're electronic deposit or
whatever. But, the UFC doesn't pay before, but it's the UFC. And I've seen them being paid in the old days. Yeah. Literally, the fight's over, and Brad would have checks, and he's handing these checks out.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate. And no, I wouldn't expect the UFC. I wouldn't expect Bellator or PFL, but all these other organizations. I remember I judged. It took 4 hours to get my $90. So what are they doing to the fighters?
Right.
So I don't want to say the wrong thing because, our viewership is approaching 2 million. So I don't want to get sued by somebody.
I remember when Vanderlei his first fight in UFC, I happened to be backstage and Dana walked up to him with a check and then said to his manager, we also paid the taxes for him.
Wow.
And he was explaining, and Vanderlei didn't understand what that meant. I'm sure he understands it now. But, yeah, it's just and that was when Vanderlei was like, he was so excited. He kept saying, I put on a good show, boss. I put on a good show, boss. And it was funny. He was so, excited to be in the UFC.
So, Mike, Randy is notorious for taking assignments based on cities, where they're located. Do fighters turn down opportunities based on tax codes or what country or where they're fighting?
I don't think so. I don't think they do. However, if they were, Canada's tax code is ridiculous.
I don't think, not to jump in, but I will. I don't think that they turn it down, but they try to sway.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll talk to the matchmakers. Hey, I'd really rather wait for. Because common sense, you want to fight at Madison Square Garden. I get it, but fighters want to fight in Florida.
Right.
They want to fight, in Vegas. I think their taxes,
sure.
They don't want to go to California, and a lot of fans don't realize that, that
so much money.
It's unbelievable.
And, a lot of fans don't also understand. A lot of fighters, you have to pay for your cornermen, you pay for their travel, you pay for their hotel, you pay for their food while you're there, you're paying for their licenses, you're paying for your own medicals. There's so much money that goes out of pocket. And when fights get thrown off, if somebody doesn't make weight, if somebody gets hurt or stubs their toe, people are paying money out of their pockets and they don't get that money back.
Yeah. Ironically, that's what you said. I talked to Pat, before the show, and we were talking about that, and we talked about that Tracy originally, and we still need to touch on that.
Sure.
That she dropped 1.5 pounds, and then she was still weighed in at the same thing. She kind of yelled like, huh? And then all of a sudden, somebody yelled, breathe out. And now she lost a half a pound. And I said, why do fighters continue to take those fights? Because, and it's not being a pansy or whatever. It's no, I did my job. You didn't do yours. But you just brought up one of the main reasons, because you still owe the gym.
That's right.
You still owe the training partners. You've brought everybody out. And we don't look at that, and it's a financial decision.
Yeah.
Are you going to reach into your pocket and pay?
And listeners might not realize this. You and I and Matt, and Steve, we've been in this business for a long time. There was a time when UFC fighters wouldn't pay their corners. Like, their corners were doing it out of the goodness of their heart. You're part of our team.
And hope she would retaliate.
Yeah.
Like around here.
And then a lot of guys, and then a lot of guys wouldn't. They would win a fighter of the night bonus, and they still wouldn't give money to their corner guys.
Wow.
And that that sort of changed. There was a time. I've trained all over the country, and like most of the time, if a UFC fighter is in your gym, he's not paying for anything. And it gets a little time consuming for the guy who owns a gym, and he's got to have time for his other students. The next thing you know, he's resenting this guy, and the UFC fighter's going, yeah, but you're getting more students because I'm here.
Of course.
And it doesn't work that way, though. UFC fighter has to treat it like a business. It's not just UFC fighters; it's all fighters. Treat it like a business. You want to go to the gym, you pay your dues. You pay your dues like everybody else.
But going back to the fans, what they understand, what they don't, when it came to Ortiz or Tracy this weekend, this photo they show online is her standing on the scale, holding the hair up that she cut off so she can make weight, but it's still the same amount of weight that she's holding up.
Can I just the shirt that I like to wear? People, not a big fan. Go ahead, continue.
But the actual weigh was behind the curtain on the official scale.
No, not behind the curtain.
Oh, it's
no. What they do, and you've been to it, what they do is you officially weigh in.
Right.
And then Heidi, greatest Harris ever, Heidi Harris. Heidi says, now you stand there. You got to stand there for 5 seconds after the commissioner. In Denver, for some reason, he wanted to be in all the photos. And they're like waiting for him to get the hell out of the way. So you weigh in. Once it's official, the commissioner then says 162. They go 162. We'll say 171.
Say 126 because that's what it was.
Okay, 126. Once he gets the hell out of the way, then they stand on the scale and pose for 5 seconds. So it's not behind. The official weigh-in is right there. When Tracy...
Did she go behind the curtain? Did she have to take all of her clothes off?
No, she went in the box.
Right.
Which is the new thing without the towel. But no, she didn't weigh in behind the curtain. She officially weighed in front of the media.
Because I remember when this guy confessed to cheating on a weigh-in when he grabbed onto the towel.
Must be Cormier. I can't see it, but it must be Cormier.
This is Daniel Cormier.
Well, that's why they got rid of the towel.
Right. So, because he held onto the towel to make weight. Some guys take their foot off the scale. There's tricks to the trade.
But you're right. A lot of fans, and we have over 100,000 views, and God knows how many responses. What a knucklehead. Why would you cut the hair off and then take the picture with the hair? Because, again, she already weighed in and then was asked to hold the hair. Right. So first it wasn't even her decision, even though I thought it was cool. It's like she's showing.
Yeah, that's stuff you do.
Now, the flip side is you should have made weight and not had to cut your hair off. I don't care if it's 2 weeks, 2 hours, 2 minutes. But, they're like, hey, grab the hair. And then she holds the hair up and now is getting blasted for it. But
cutting weight is the worst thing about any sport. I remember wrestling in college. It was like, what people asked me, what'd you major in college? I said, cutting weight. It was the worst 4 years of my life. I wrestled 118.
Wow.
Man.
I was born 118.
Speaking of wrestling, and I know this is a little off topic, Frankie Edgar's wrestling coach